All right, let's dive into this one. Today we're going to be looking at Catch-22, and I know it can be a bit of a head-scratcher.
It's definitely one of those books that people either love or hate.
I feel that, yeah,
But, it's considered a classic for a reason.
for sure. And you guys sent in some excerpts for this deep dive, focusing on the first three sections, which I think is really smart.
Oh, absolutely. Because the book jumps around in time so much, it can make your head spin.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, well, like a uh, time travel roller coaster or something.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But that nonlinear structure actually kind of reflects the whole, chaotic nature of war,
Right,
right?
totally. It's like Heller's using the form of the novel to mirror the experience of war itself.
Exactly. And right away, he throws us into this crazy world with Captain Yossarian, our lovely bombardier in World War
It
II.
wants nothing to do with it anymore.
Yeah, he's over it. Like, Yossarian's main goal, survival, the end.
He's done.
He's done.
And what's interesting is he sees the military bureaucracy, not the enemy, as the real enemy.
Oh, 100%. They are the obstacle, the big bad wolf in his story.
Well, I mean, can you blame him when you see the lengths he goes to avoid flying missions? Like, he's faking a liver condition in the hospital, he's rewriting letters and signing them as Washington Irving.
Classic. See, that's Heller at his best, using
Mhm.
satire to really drive home just how ridiculous the situation is. This guy, this soldier, is supposed to be fighting a war, but he's more concerned with, forging signatures than dodging bombs.
Well, it's like, what is even happening? Who is the real enemy here?
Right. It makes you think. And then, of course, we have to talk about the infamous Catch-22.
Oh, the Catch-22, it's become a part of our everyday language.
Because it's so true. It's this, rule that's designed to trap you. Like, if you want to be grounded for insanity, you have to ask. But if you ask, it means you're sane, and therefore you have to keep flying.
It's a no-win situation.
A paradox, a classic paradox. But the genius of it is that it reveals this deeper truth about, well, not just the military, but about all these systems we find ourselves in.
Like, they create the problem, and then the solution is just more of the problem.
Exactly. It's like healthcare, education, even like our political systems. It's everywhere, right? You bump up against these catch-22s all the time. And that's why Heller's novel resonates with so many people, because it taps into this universal experience of feeling stuck.
Totally, totally. Okay, so we've got this foundation of absurdity,
Mm.
and then we get to meet the rest of the characters in Yossarian's world. And, well, things don't exactly get less weird.
Oh, no, it gets a whole lot weirder. Like the Texan, for example. This guy is like a walking, talking embodiment of blind patriotism.
Yeah, it's like he thinks war is just one big, glorious adventure.
And then you have Clevenger, who's the complete opposite.
Yeah, the naive intellectual actually believes in duty and honor, which is kind of mind-blowing considering the circumstances.
Right? It's like, dude, open your eyes. But that's what Heller's doing. He's showing us all these different ways people cope with the insanity of war. You've got blind faith, you've got clinging to the rules, and then you've got, Yossarian, who's just like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, rebelling against the whole system. And then, of course, we have Colonel Cathcart.
Oh, Cathcart, the king of ambition gone wrong. He's so obsessed with getting a promotion that he keeps raising the number of missions the men have to fly, putting their lives in danger just to make himself look good.
And that's where we'll leave it for today
Oh, yeah, we've got a lot more to uncover in this book. Until next time.
on The Deep Dive.
And things get even more intense, I guess, in the second section, the excerpts you sent.
Yeah, it's like the humor gets a little darker, a little more biting.
Definitely. More, I guess you could say a heavier feel to it.
And Yossarian, he just seems to get more and more desperate.
Oh, yeah. His fear is definitely palpable. Like, you can feel it in every scene he's in.
It's not just fear, though, right? It's like he shifts from just trying to avoid missions to actively trying to sabotage the whole system.
Yeah, like he's finally realized how messed up everything is, and now he's like, all right, if I'm going down, I'm taking you all with me.
Yeah, he's done playing by their rules.
Exactly. And some of the events in this section, I mean, they're so absurd, so over the top that you almost have to laugh.
That's that dark humor, right?
Right.
You laugh, but then you're like, oh, wait, this is actually really messed up.
Exactly. Like the Bologna mission, for instance. It's terrifying, but it also just highlights how little the military leaders actually care about the lives of their men.
Yeah, they're just pawns in their game.
Exactly. And then you have McWatt, accidentally killing Kid Samson, and then boom, flies his plane into a mountain.
Just like out of nowhere.
It's shocking, but it also kind of makes you think about the psychological impact of war. you know?
It's trauma, the guilt.
Yeah, like how do you even begin to process all that? And the fact that McWatt's suicide happens so suddenly, so senselessly, it just adds to this whole feeling of absurdity, that everything is just kind of pointless.
Pointless, meaningless.
Yeah. And then there's Doc Danica, who gets declared dead even though he's very much alive.
Yeah, paperwork error, right.
Oh.
But because of that, he's basically erased from existence.
It's the Catch-22 in action again.
The system is broken.
Totally broken. And then you've got Milo Minderbinder, who starts as this mess officer, but ends up running this crazy black market empire, even bombing his own base for profit.
Oh, man, Milo. He's a whole other level of crazy.
Right. He's like the embodiment of unchecked capitalism. Like, he'll do anything for a profit, even if it means betraying his own country.
It's like he's taken the logic of war, the ends justify the means, and just, like, applied it to the world of business.
Yeah, and the scary part is he's successful. He's making a fortune off of all this chaos.
It's both hilarious and disturbing.
Exactly. It makes you think about, what are we really valuing in our society?
Right, right. So we've got all this chaos, all this absurdity, and then in the middle of it all, Yossarian, he gets offered a deal.
A way out.
Yeah, go home, keep quiet, be a hero. But he refuses.
He says no.
He won't compromise his principles, even if it means staying trapped in this crazy world.
It's a huge turning point for him. He's finally realized, what's really important.
Yeah, like his integrity, his sense of self, that's more important than just escaping.
Exactly. And that kind of sets the stage for the final part of the book, the final excerpts you sent, where things get really, really dark for Yossarian.
Yeah, so Yossarian, he's at this point where he knows the only way out is to escape the system, the whole thing.
He's done.
He's seen, way too much. Too much death, too much just craziness, pointlessness.
He's reached his limit.
And yeah, I think this last section of the book, it really kind of takes us to the darkest places in the whole story.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the satire, it's still there, but it's mixed with this really profound sense of despair almost.
Yeah, and I think, we can't talk about this part of the book without talking about the rape and murder of the young Italian girl.
It's a turning point for sure for Yossarian, but also I think for the reader.
Yeah, it's like Heller's forcing us to confront the real horror of war, It's not just about the battles and the bombs.
It's about the loss of innocence, the just sheer brutality of it all.
It's like it strips away any kind of romanticism that someone might have about war.
Absolutely. And for Yossarian, it's like this final nail in the coffin, so to speak.
It destroys any hope he might have had of finding some meaning, some purpose in all this.
It just pushes him over the edge. And then, on top of that, he gets stabbed by Nately's whore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To talk about adding insult to injury, right? It's just this senseless act of violence that just underscores how dangerous the world is, even outside the military.
Exactly. It's like there's no escaping the chaos no matter where he goes.
It's like the war has followed him home.
And then comes the final Catch-22, right? He's offered a chance to go home.
But there's a catch.
Of course there's a catch. He has to publicly praise the very people who have put him through hell.
It's like they're asking him to sell his soul for a ticket home.
And it's this moment of truth for him, What's more important, his freedom or his integrity?
And for a while, you really do think he might give in,
He's been through so much.
So much.
But that's not Yossarian. He's a survivor, yes, but he's also a rebel who's not going to compromise who he is, even if it means staying in this crazy war.
And that's where the news about Orr comes in, right? Or escaping to Sweden.
It's like a light at the end of the tunnel.
A sign that escape is possible.
And it gives Yossarian the courage to make his own break for freedom.
To risk everything and try to reach Sweden himself.
It's a dangerous gamble, no doubt about it.
But it's also this incredibly powerful act of defiance.
He's choosing to live life on his own terms, even if it means being a fugitive.
So I guess the big question is, what do you think Heller's trying to say with Yossarian's decision? Is it a victory? A defeat?
It's tough to say, really. It's open to interpretation, but I think, at its core, it's a message of hope.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, even in the darkest of times, There's always a possibility of finding a way out.
Of breaking free from the system, from the
And
madness.
I think that's something we can all relate to, right? I mean, who hasn't felt trapped at some point in their lives?
Exactly. Catch-22, it's not just a war novel. It's a story about the human condition,
Mhm.
about trying to hold on to your sanity, your humanity, in a world that often feels absurd and unjust.
It's about recognizing those catch-22s in our own lives and having the courage to say, "No, I'm not playing by these rules anymore."
It's about choosing hope over despair, even when hope seems impossible.
So, yeah, that's Catch-22, a book that makes you laugh, makes you think, and maybe even makes you want to run away to Sweden.
Maybe all three.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
For another deep dive.